So we're starting our morning with a group breakfast at, what is the Biscuit? What's the name of it?
Biscuit.
Yeah, well, I don't know what the name is.
Anyway,
Biscuit Cafe.
at the Biscuit Place. Anyway, so this is a team from Cornerstone plus Bob.
Plus Bob.
Bob spelled backwards is Bob. Bob spelled upside down is Bob.
And you can still do it in the water too.
Yeah, right. You can bob in water. So anyway, this is the start of our day, and then we're going to head out to some of the folks to the Blessing Barn to distribute stuff, and some of the rest of us may be working at some construction kind of things. So I'm taking you along with me. So this morning we're up on the roof trying to repair a leak around a skylight. There's Tim Shark, our fearless leader here, myself, and Alan's over here. We're taking shingles off to try to figure out where the leak is, repair it, and then eventually put shingles back on. So that's kind of what our day is looking like today. Today we're here at the Blessing Barn. We came here for lunch, and this is a place where they're doing distribution of things like water, soap, diapers. I even saw them give them out free gasoline vouchers. And there are people just coming here, sending supplies here to be distributed. And they, Kristen, the one that manages this, said that they serve 2,000 people a month. They serve 2,000 people a month. There's a truck wanting to come through here. They serve 2,000 people a month, but look at all the cars parked out here. This is having an impact, and we just sat and prayed with some of the workers here. This is the name of Jesus being lifted up to people that are hurting, and so it's just an awesome thing to be a part of, and probably hear from some of the ladies tonight how it impacted them. So this is a house that has been completely renovated that the work teams have come down and worked on. It's basically finished, but if you come up here, just over here, the next house down, it's they're still tearing out, and the word is that when the water came up, it came up to the eaves of these houses in 20 minutes, and went from being kind of normal to up to the eaves of the house in 20 minutes. Can you imagine that? And they were rescuing people off the roofs of their houses with kayaks. Somebody up on the hill up here had a kayak, and we noticed people on the roofs and came down and was rescuing people with kayaks. I cannot imagine. And then they were telling us a story about, I believe it was this house, that they put their son on the roof, and then they dove down and swam out of the windows to get up on the roofs themselves. It's crazy.
80 years old, and her son is 52, and he lives here with her. And the morning of the flood, it happened in the morning. It had been raining all night, but really it started real intense early in the morning. And he worked at Ingalls. And so he came home and pulled in here, and he said, "Mom, we got to get out of here. The water's coming up. We've got to go." She said, "Well, I need to get some things." He said, "No, you don't understand. We need to go." And so I guess she grabbed her medicine, and when they came out, the water was already up halfway to the door. So when the water broke over the highway over here, over 7, it was 20 minutes from the time the water hit the ground till it was at roof level. So that's how long people had to respond. And this house had wrought iron posts on the front of it, and he held on to his mother, and he had, with one hand, and with the other hand he held on to the wrought iron, and they worked their way up till they was at the roof level, and a kayaker came by and got her up on the roof, and then he let go and swam around to a shed building in the back, stayed there till the water went down enough the fire trucks could get in. It was about, I think she was up in there for 4 hours. If you notice, there's a house, the third house back. It's kind of hard to see now, but there's different colored shingles right up at the peak up there, and that's where somebody had escaped into the attic, and they chopped him out of the attic. get out.
Wow.
Same thing with this one right
How
here.
did they know they were that?
There were people screaming,
Oh,
and
they could hear it.
they could hear it. And there, a lot of the help came from back up here
So how
in
did
Upper
they,
Beacon
people
Village
get here onto this street? With boats?
with kayaks. They had kayaks. And if you go back and you listen to the this old house episode, start to beginning, they interviewed one of the guys who did a lot of the rescue work here.
Wow.
And it's very interesting. So we got in here and got to working on this house, and we just kind of got invested. Finally, we met Maya, fell in love with Maya. She's a single woman in mid-30s, and she was born 100 years too late. And but her house was full of antiques from her parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents that she lost. But she has, as we go in, she knows we're coming, and as we go in, you'll see the kind of her style, and it's just she has worked extremely hard to bring it back to a style that was representative of the time.
Oh.
So this is some art in Black Mountain, North Carolina, and it's a mural sculpture made out of concrete. And you can see the detail in it. It's really quite amazing. This is our entertainment for the evening.
Look at all these little tiny things that they did on this. Detail is just crazy. It really is.
It was the Celestial found this couple over in Fairview. And Fairview was the community. I don't know if you heard that there was 11 members of one family that were washed away, and that was over in Fairview. He wasn't part of this community, but they lived over there, and so Mike and Lisa lived. They had a little compound, a little village of 3 or 4 house trailers together, and they were all family, a mother and kids and grandkids that lived there, and they lost everything. And their vehicles were like, if you just take a ball of tinfoil and crunch it up, that's what their vehicles look like. And so Mike is 43 years old. He had lung cancer, and one of his lungs has removed. And so, and then he has since come down with leukemia. And so they needed a truck, and so I found a Honda, is it Avalanche? Ridgeline. It's a 4-door. It's kind of a car truck kind of thing, not a real big back end to it. And so I said, we've got this truck, I'll deliver it up. So I come up all by myself with this truck on the trailer. Had a blowout that time on the trailer. And I get to this place, and Lacey, who Tim mentioned earlier, she was going to meet me up there at this place. I get up there, and I'm over on Route 9, and lots of places on there had washed out, and it was just barely one lane around, and you were looking down. They had just barriers set up.
Oh my goodness, and you have
were
a trailer?
And here I've got my truck pulling a big trailer with this truck on the back of it. And I get to where my GPS says is the location. And as I was going up there, I'm thinking, somebody up here today is getting a truck. I don't know if it's the right person, but somebody's getting a truck up here today. So I get to this location, and I look down in this valley, And I'm looking at this road that goes off like this. And I'm sitting here in the truck. And Lacey pulls up with her car. And she's like, this is the right place. And so I'm like, Lord, help me at least not bottom out pulling off down across this road. So I kind of went off at an angle and I got down in there and met them and heard their story. And there was a lot of people there. Well, there was somebody from Spectrum News there. And they said, we heard there was going to be a delivery up here of something today, and we came up to get this story. And he said, we had heard somebody was bringing some mattresses. And I said, well, I don't have mattresses, but I've got this car, this truck. And so I give it to Mike and his wife, and it was an emotional time, of course. And so I had posted on, are you familiar with the Next Door Neighbor app?
Oh, yeah.
So I had posted on Next Door Neighbor that we was bringing trips up here and we needed supplies and everything. And some woman, every time I come up, just about has a half a truckload of dog food she sends up here. But so when I posted that, I posted a picture that I was bringing this truck up. And I looked at my phone while I was up here and was going to go back that next morning. And I see that there's this message. No, I was going back that same day.
All the way back home?
Yeah, I was going back home. And so, no, I'm sorry. I stayed overnight. But on the way back the next morning, I had this message from somebody on Nextdoor that said, we have this found money we'd like to give you to give to somebody up in Western North Carolina. Please call us. And I'm like, you've got this found money? You know, what is this? You know,
suspicious.
did somebody have $5 they found in the ditch or something, or in shopping they got picked up $10 and they want to get to me? So I called this guy and he said, yes, he said, my wife and I were out a little over a year ago. We were walking in Cary, and he said my wife had seen this trash in the ditch for like 3 days when she walked. And he said the day that I was walking with her, she stopped to pick it up, and there was a money envelope there. And she opened it up, and it was $1,070.
Wow.
And so they made, you know, well, this isn't our money. We're not going to keep this. You know, it wouldn't be right for us. We need to try to find the owners. But they just didn't want to publicize, you know, we've got this money and having to deal with all these people. So they took it to the Cary Police Department and said, we found this and we want you to hold it. What do we do with it? And they said, well, now you just tell people that you've got this, you found this a large sum of money. If you lost it, contact the Cary Police Department and identify it, because it was specified on the bag how many hundreds and how many tens were in. So there were 10 $100 bills, and there was a 50 and 2 tens. And so they said it was never claimed. And so after the year, either they get to get it back, or it goes into the school system. And they said, well, we didn't want it just to go to the school system and be lost or something. And we decided that we wanted to try to get it to somebody in Western North Carolina that needed it. And when we saw your post, we felt like we could trust you to get it to somebody.
Wow.
So I said, well, I'm on my way home today. I'm going back up to the mountains tomorrow. I said, why don't you bring it over to my house this afternoon? So he and his wife came over. And so they started telling the story, how they found the money. And they said, yeah, when we told this, we had advertised it on Nextdoor, but CBS News picked up on it. And so CBS News came and interviewed them. about not wanting to keep this money and trying to find the rightful owner, you know, the feel-good story. And so I said, well, you need to do the Paul Harvey, the rest of the story. You need to call CBS News, and it went national. The story went national.
Oh.
And I said, you need to call CBS News and tell them what you did with the money. And so that night, while we were having our small group at our house, the phone rings, and I saw it was his name, so I excused myself. He said,
They want to come film you.
we called CBS News, and the reporter that did that wants you to take video, and this is how you hold your camera and everything. And then when you come back, they want to interview us all together and do a follow-up story on it.
Wow.
So at this point, I still wasn't sure who I was going to give the money to. So I called some of my friends up here and said, okay, pray about this. Who do I give the money to? And so they all agreed that it ought to go to this Mike and his family. Mike has 3 girls, and so everybody said it ought to go to Mike because they're in such desperate need. So when I get back up here on Thursday night, I text Mike and I said, hey buddy, how you doing? I said, I thought maybe I'd stop over. I didn't tell him what I had, but I want to stop over and see you and just see how you're doing. I said, I got a buddy with me. I'd like to introduce you to him. And I didn't get any response back. And usually he texts me right back. And so we're there, and several hours go by, and I text back. I said, hey Mike, did you get my earlier text? In a little bit, he calls me, and he said, I'm in Mission Hospital with pneumonia.
Oh.
He said, could you come see me? I'm in room such and such. So what do you say? No, I'm not coming. I've got a group here. I can't break away. I got to tell my stories. And so I took Bradley, who's coming up, who he and I had been an elder with together before. And I said, come on, Bradley, we're going to the hospital. So I went over, and we were there talking for quite a while, and I still hadn't told him about the money. And the nurse came in, and she was doing some stuff there. And so I said, hey, Mike, I said, I want to give you something. And I told him about the money. And I pulled out the envelope and gave, and it was still in the evidence bag. I never opened it. The people never opened it. I never opened it. It was still 10 $100 bills, a $50 bill, and 2 $10 bills on the outside of it. And I said, we want you to have this. And he started to cry. And he said, now I can buy a little Christmas for my girls. And so we took some pictures, and I didn't feel right doing any video in the hospital with him laying there.
Right.
And so we came back. The reporter met us at the church the next Thursday afternoon, and they actually called and interviewed Mike on the phone from his hospital bed, and then they aired that on CBS News. And
wow.
It's just, you know, all those just little stories. And so we have become close friends. And
You and who?
And Mike.
Mike?
Yeah, and his family. And the Mennonites have
No, man.
bought them a new home, a new double wide. They got them a piece of property. They moved to a new piece of property. They've got the house set up. And he kind of looks at me as, I think, as a father figure to him. And so I went up to visit him where the new house was, the new trailer. And there was a guy there in an old beat up truck. And when I get out, I introduced myself. I said, are you here putting the sewer in? He said, no, I'm the well driller. And I said, well, cool. I said, when are you going to drill the well? He said, the county had marked it over here, but Mike said he doesn't want it over here because he doesn't want to cut these couple scrubby pine trees down. He said he wants to move it over here under the power line. He said, so now I got to go back to the county and reissue a permit. I got to get a permit to work under the power lines. He said, I don't know when I'm going to get up here and do this. I said, listen. Hey, Mike, come over here a minute. I said, is there really a good reason you don't want your well drilled here? He said, well, I didn't want to cut those pine trees down. I said, okay, Mike, here's the deal. If they have to move from here over to there, they got to go back to the county, reposition the well. He's got to get permission to go onto the telephone or the power line. I said, it might be months before you get this well drilled. He can start Monday drilling it. Mike says, well, if that's where you say it needs to be, that's where it will be. And he goes to a shed and gets out a chainsaw, starts cutting these trees down.